Wolalele moya lang moya uyasule sibayeni. Wolalele lalele moya lo sayo uyasule sibayeni.
Welcome back to our channel. I'm Gogo Khanyakude, Mshengu Shabalala, Onganamavuso Lophanawo, Wakwandabeka Mumfungo Kwakhe Wathemba Ingane. In this second part of our series, we'll be discussing the elemental force of creation, which is air. As we had previously began in our last video to speak around the elemental forces of creation and how you can use them in your rituals of connection in order to be able to connect with the divine being creator, the primeval source, the gods and the goddesses, the divine being the mythical creatures and live in this and other dimensions, the divine being ourselves as we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and the divine being our ancestors who once walked this planet and now live in the spiritual form. So when we speak around rituals of connection, we're speaking around practical ways that you can connect in your everyday lives and space in order to be able to align with your truth, soul purpose and intent. And when we speak around this rituals of connections and of alignment, it's basically in this video we will be exploring how can you use air and what is the importance of air. That will be where we'll begin. If we understand that every single living being on this earth either is reliant upon air in order to breathe or is reliant upon air in order to live in the air, as other organisms do, we then understand that air is what animates, is the life force which is vital for life to be able to then move in this world of ours. We understand that in nature there's a sacred gift that has been gifted to us by a creator, where plants and trees are the ones who produce the oxygens that we take in, and the oxygen or air is only existence within our world, as in outer space there is no air system. The air system is only in our world. So these plants and trees which produce this air give us the oxygen which we as living beings who are reliant upon take it in, and we in turn then let out carbon dioxide which plants and trees are relying upon. So there is a symbiosis right down when we go to a creational level, when we look and understand air as a life force that was written into how this world came about, that the plants which produce the oxygen will give the beings which are reliant upon the oxygen that air that they can take, and in turn those beings will give back carbon dioxide which those plants and trees are reliant upon. So when we start to, on a conscious level, on a thought level and on a soul level, align with this truth around what the air is, that air is a balanced force of creation, one that works with exchange, we can then start to understand why simple practices such as breathing exercises, where you would begin by taking in the breath, then allowing for that breath to leave you. If you repeat this exercise, you will find that after a couple of repetitions of deep breathing, allowing the breath to really fill your lungs, go all the way down to the depth of your stomach, and then allowing for it to then come out through your mouth, that there's a certain sense of presence, there's a certain sort of energy that you start to feel shifting within you. That is the life force that air represents. And if we understand that within that, in our act of taking in the breath, we are not only taking in a life force, but when we then breathe out, we are gifting in return those that have gifted us. So we can use this in our conscious thinking to understand and align with the divinity that is behind the creational element that is air. We understand also then that if we say that the air in this only exists in our system, in our world, and not in outer space, that it means that in this closed system The very same air which we are breathing now is the very same air that has been breathed in by our ancestors since time immemorial. So it means that air is a way to connect with our Akashic records. Our Akashic records being going back to where it is that we originate from. Ngesimbu sithi embo la kwaqala khona, where we come from, the primeval source. So we can use air also to be able to invigorate our connection with our sense of being alive. Because at times we feel as though, what is my purpose for being here? We are overwhelmed and overburdened by so many things that are going on that we don't even have a moment to just sit still and take in a breath and be awakened and mindful to the fact that I am actually here and I am actually alive, I am actually breathing. And because of that, it means that there are still things that I'm yet to do here in this earth. When we carry on to understand that this connection with the air and with our ancient ancestors means that air can be used in our rituals of connection through simple things such as the burning of incense and watching as to how the air moves and travels free, without shape, without form. Air signifies liberation. It signifies a certain sense of freedom, as air can move and get into crevices where the physical body can't because it is shapeless. And because of that, when we look in our African indigenous languages as to how did our ancestors understand through using language what air represented, they understood that air represents umoya, the breath that we breathe in. Umoya also represents then our souls. Umoya also represents then the spirits of our ancestors that have transcended to the spiritual plane. Umoya Oyingcwele also represents the creator and the divine. It is a life energy, it is a consciousness, and within that, when we start to then also in our own ways use the breath through meditation to meditate on that divine aspect of the air, we are then able to get a deeper sense and to align with our truth, our purpose, and our soul intent that we have come here into this earth. There are simple things that as people we can really start to explore using the elemental forces of creation. And these elemental forces of creation are very important for us to see the spirituality behind them and the divinity behind them and the energies that they represent, because they are always easily available and accessible to us. And if we begin our spiritual connection and from a foundational level where we use that which has been gifted to us by Creator, that which has been gifted and presented to us by nature, we will then always be able to call upon the collective power of spirit, because spirit is in any and everything that is accessible to us. As we carry on in this series, we will deepen the understandings around how then do we use these elemental forces of creation when it comes to rituals such as Ukuphahla. This is an introductory series where we're introducing the elemental forces of creation. And to carry on a bit more as a closing consideration around the breath, around Umoya. What Umoya teaches us is the idea and the understanding of transcendence. It transcends and moves through any and every space that it can access. Air cannot be trapped in a certain place. So when we call also consciously around what energies air can gift to us in terms of our spiritual connections and our rituals of connection, we can use it to inform our purpose as to always be able to transcend wherever we may feel that we are stuck, wherever we may feel that there are blockages, wherever we feel that there is a certain energy of emancipation and of liberation that we need to reach into. Thokozani bogogo nabomkhulu, ngiyadibongela mina ngingogo Khanyakude amabuza mshengu shabalala dvongo lamavuso lophanako. In our next video, we'll be discussing the creational force, which is fire, and exploring what that means. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment below, and also switch on the subscription bell, as we will be posting more content towards that book.